Lucas. You mustn't shout so loudly. Diana Anderson frowned as she watched the silver cutlery tremble slightly on the pristine white tablecloth. At the end of the table, 7-year-old Lucas shrank apologetically. Beyond the well-maintained garden enclosed by white picket fences, the gentle autumn sun was beginning to set in Newton. Mother, Lucas is just a child. Kate began softly, but Diana's sharp glance cut her off mid-sentence. Sunday family dinners were a traditional gathering presided over by Diana in this elegant dining room of their colonial-style mansion in Newton's quiet residential area. Family photographs of generations of Andersons adorned the walls, but none of Kate's pictures were among them. Ashley, how are the preparations coming along for your student recital? Diana turned the conversation toward her favorite younger daughter, dressed in a Brooks Brothers dress. Ashley, her face perfectly made up with Ralph Lauren cosmetics, gracefully tilted her wine glass as she answered. Yes, the recital next week will be special. I've put together a wonderful program with Mr. Morgan from Roosevelt Elementary. The PTA is very pleased with it. At that name, Kate tensed momentarily. The scene she had witnessed yesterday in the Marriott Hotel lobby flashed behind her eyelids. The weight of the photographs stored on her phone suddenly felt heavy in her pocket. Outside the window, Ashley's brand new BMW gleamed next to Diana's Mercedes. Wow, that's amazing! Lucas exclaimed again. I love Mr. Morgan. He comes to watch our baseball games too. Lucas. This time Robert admonished his son. As a middle manager at an IT company, her husband often worked late, but he never missed Sunday dinners. He was a kind son who never forgot to be considerate of his mother. Across the table, Ashley's husband James continued eating silently. A workaholic at a major accounting firm, he rarely joined in conversations at such gatherings. Lately, he had been working more weekends, and his time with his wife seemed to be diminishing. Kate, Diana suddenly called out. The maid was bringing dessert from the high-end kitchen with its gleaming granite countertops. How is the hospital? Are you still doing that common work? Mercy General isn't the kind of hospital my friends go to. Yes. Kate answered calmly, feeling how out of place her simple, uniform-like dress was in this setting. I take pride in being able to help my patients. Well. Diana smiled condescendingly. But look at Ashley. She's using her musical talent to inspire children in the community. Her social media followers are growing by the day. At the recent church gathering, everyone was talking about her. Kate nodded silently. As sunlight fell across the hardwood floors, she lowered her gaze to the roast beef on the table, feeling the weight of her phone in her pocket grow heavier. The evidence was already sufficient: Facebook message exchanges, photos of secret meetings in parking lots, and hotel receipts. All of it told the story of Ashley and Peter Morgan's relationship. Oh yes, Diana continued. Many of my friends are coming to next week's recital. I've invited the trustees from Newton Public Schools too. Ashley, it's a perfect opportunity to showcase your talent. Kate glanced out the window at where her Volvo SUV was parked. Morning coffee at Starbucks, shopping at Whole Foods, picking out clothes for her son at Target. Such ordinary parts of life were only objects of contempt in this house. The Sunday afternoon sunlight filtered through gaps in the dining room's heavy curtains. Kate looked over at Lucas, who was now quietly continuing his meal. Looking at his innocent profile, she felt her maternal resolve strengthen. Her son had a baseball game next week too. Would Mr. Morgan be there? Or would he be having another secret rendezvous with Ashley at the hotel? Eventually, this false peace would have to be shattered. But not today. Not yet. Kate quietly lifted her fork and brought the perfectly cooked roast beef to her mouth. On the table, the aroma of Mom's apple pie was beginning to waft through the air. On an October afternoon, as maple leaves swayed in the wind, Kate's phone rang on her desk. Through the windows of Mercy General Hospital, autumn sunlight was streaming in. Mrs. Anderson. The female teacher's voice on the phone was trembling. Lucas. Lucas has had an accident. Kate felt the blood drain from her face. What happened? He fell from some old playground equipment. We've called an ambulance. As soon as she hung up, Kate rushed from her seat. Her office attire skirt fluttered in the wind. While running through the hospital corridors, she sent a message to her husband Robert. Lucas had an accident. Going to Roosevelt Elementary now. As she left the hospital, she could already hear the approaching ambulance sirens. Kate jumped into her Volvo. Each time she got caught at a red light at an intersection, she gripped the steering wheel tightly. When she arrived at the schoolyard, the emergency response team had already begun their work. Around the aging playground equipment in the shadow of the 50-year-old school building, a crowd had gathered. In the center lay a small body. Lucas. As she rushed over, she could see blood flowing from her son's forehead. Though conscious, his pupils weren't focusing properly. Mom, my head. Lucas mumbled in a weak voice. It's okay, Mommy's here. Kate held her son's hand, her voice trembling. The paramedic quickly explained the situation. The head injury is serious. We need a CT scan immediately. At that moment, she saw Peter Morgan through the crowd. The music teacher stood frozen, his face pale. Next to him was Ashley. They both quickly averted their gaze and disappeared into the crowd. In the ambulance, Kate desperately talked to her son. How was your baseball game? Did Mr. Morgan come to watch? She had to keep him talking to prevent him from losing consciousness. Yes, but he left early. Lucas's voice was weak. Said he had to go somewhere, with Aunt Ashley. In that moment, something froze inside Kate. Upon arriving at Mercy General Hospital, they went straight to the CT room. There's a possibility of subdural hematoma, a young doctor explained the need for emergency surgery. As soon as possible. Kate pulled out her phone with trembling hands. First, she called her mother-in-law Diana. Mother. Lucas has had an accident. Please come to the hospital right away. I'm at Ashley's student recital right now. Diana's voice was filled with irritation. Don't interrupt. But Lucas is in critical condition. Later. The line went dead. Just as the call ended, Robert came rushing into the hospital. What did Mother say? Anger seeped through his voice. She said Ashley's recital was more important. Kate answered, holding back tears. Again. Mother. Robert punched the wall hard. Actually, I have evidence. Kate took out her phone. About Ashley and Mr. Morgan. Her husband's face tensed. What do you mean? Last week, I ran into Robert's high school friend at the Marriott hotel lobby. He's the hotel's security manager. And Kate opened her screen. This. Secret meetings in the hotel lobby. Embraces in the parking lot. Facebook Messenger records. Credit card statements. Everything documented Ashley and Peter Morgan's affair. Why didn't you say anything until now? For our son's sake. But now. Kate made her decision. Mr. Morgan was supposed to be on playground duty today. Instead, he was with Ashley. Just then, the young doctor came out of the operating room. All eyes turned to him. The surgery was successful, the doctor said, and Kate's knees weakened with relief. We've controlled the bleeding, and consciousness is returning. Robert supported his wife. Thank goodness, really, thank goodness. However, the doctor continued, why was the supervising teacher absent? For the accident report, the police will need. At those words, Ashley's face turned pale. The papers clutched by Peter Morgan's wife scattered across the floor. On them were decisive evidence of their affair. I'm leaving now, James said quietly. I'll contact my lawyer tomorrow. Jay, wait. I can explain. I've heard more than enough explanation. James left without looking back. A heavy silence fell over the hospital corridor. Outside the window, the autumn dusk was deepening. For the first time, Diana took her eyes off her daughter. Kate. Diana's voice echoed faintly. I was wrong, wasn't I? Kate answered quietly. Perfect families don't exist. Just then, a nurse called out. Mrs. Anderson, your son is awake. Without hesitation, Kate pushed open the door to the operating room. Now was the time to be by her son's side. The remaining family members could only stand there, each with their own thoughts. 3 days after being transferred from Mass General Hospital, the morning sun streaming into Mercy General's private room softly illuminated Lucas's cheeks. In the quiet hospital room where only the dripping of the four could be heard, Kate watched over her son's recovery. A nurse quietly opened the door. The police are here. 2 middle-aged detectives were waiting in the reception room. Mrs. Anderson, we'd like to hear more details about the responsible party's absence at the time of the accident. Kate answered with determination. I'll tell you everything. Meanwhile, at the Newton courthouse, Ashley's divorce mediation had begun. In a high-end law firm's conference room, James's lawyer methodically laid out the evidence. And this is the record from the day she abandoned her supervisory duties. The lawyer pointed to security camera footage from the hotel. The negligence that caused a serious accident due to an inappropriate relationship with Mr. Morgan. Ashley trembled, keeping her head down. Her once confident demeanor was nowhere to be seen. Her social media followers were leaving in droves, and local mothers looked at her with cold eyes. She had been quietly removed from the Roosevelt Elementary Mothers Group chat. At the Morgan household, Carol, his wife, was throwing her husband's belongings onto the front porch. "Get out!" Her shouts echoed through the quiet residential area. "You don't want to see the children's faces." "Fine, but you'll definitely pay child support." Peter Morgan silently loaded his belongings into his car. His teaching license from Newton Public Schools had already been revoked, and his path to teaching in Massachusetts was permanently closed. In a room at Mercy General, Diana sat alone, letting out a deep sigh. Why didn't I notice? The cold glances at weekend church gatherings. The request to resign from the PTA board. And above all, her most treasured reputation in social circles crumbling before her eyes. Kate entered the room. "Lucas wants to see you." "He wants to see me." Diana's voice trembled. "But I said such terrible things." "My son loves your apple pie," Kate smiled gently. "And I want to rebuild real family bonds too." In the hospital room, Robert was reading a book by his son's side. He had adjusted his work schedule to try to get home earlier. "Dad, will I be able to play baseball again?" Lucas asked anxiously. "Of course you will." Robert answered kindly. But before that, a familiar aroma wafted in from the hallway. Diana entered carrying a homemade apple pie. Kate stood behind her. "Lucas." Diana's voice caught. "I'm sorry, for my foolish pride." "Grandma." Lucas smiled brightly. "I've been waiting for your apple pie." Outside the window, autumn sunlight poured in abundantly. On the table in the hospital room, the still warm apple pie gently wrapped around the family's new bonds. Meanwhile, Ashley was heading to the airport with a ticket to Boston in hand. "I can't stay in this town anymore." Her solitary words echoed emptily in the car. The clothes bought from high-end boutiques and luxurious accessories no longer held any meaning. A week later, the final divorce settlement was reached at Newton District Court. James received custody, and Ashley was ordered to pay appropriate child support. "Madam," the butler called out, "the moving company has arrived." Diana looked around the luxurious mansion's living room. The many family photos hanging on the walls. She decided to add a new photo taken with Lucas among them. "I understand." But before that, she took out her phone and began typing a message. "Kate, would you like to have family dinner at our house this Sunday? This time, as a real family." In the hospital bed, Lucas was filled with joy at his upcoming discharge. "Mom, will Grandma come to my next game too?" "Yes, of course." Kate gently stroked her son's head. This time, as a real family. In her car driving on the Mass Pike, Ashley took one last look in the rearview mirror. The Newton cityscape disappeared, tinged with the setting sun. Her new life would be difficult. But that was the result of her own choices. From the windows of Mercy General, maple leaves could be seen turning red. This autumn had brought great trials to the Anderson family. But through these trials, they had learned the true meaning of family. "Hey, Robert." Kate leaned against her husband. "We'll be okay, won't we?" "Yes, definitely." Robert held his wife's hand. As a real family. The setting sun shone through the hospital room window. It gently illuminated the beginning of a new family story. 3 months later, on a Sunday. In Newton's snowy landscape, warm Christmas lights leaked from Diana's mansion. Handmade wreaths adorned the white picket fence, and ornaments made by Lucas at school sparkled on the maple tree in the garden. "Lucas, don't run like that," Kate called from the kitchen. She was now busy preparing Christmas dinner with Diana. "But I need to get my baseball sense back," Lucas answered with a smile, showing off his healed scar. After rehabilitation, he had already regained his energetic self. "That child has really grown strong," Diana said while checking the turkey. Her once overbearing attitude had faded, replaced by a constant warm smile. "But if that accident hadn't happened..." "Mother," Kate gently interrupted. "Perhaps that was a trial we needed." In the living room, Robert was tending to the fireplace. His IT company work was still busy, but now he made sure to return home by dinner time. He prioritized his son's baseball games on weekends and cherished time spent with family. "Hey, Dad." Lucas showed off his new glove. "I'm definitely going to hit a home run in the next game. Looking forward to it." Robert embraced his son. "Grandma will be there cheering too." From the kitchen wafted the aroma of turkey and apple pie. No longer lavish catered meals, but home-cooked food filled with warmth. On the table sat new family photos they had taken together. Meanwhile, in an office building in Boston, Ashley, dressed in a plain suit, had started her new life as an office worker. Her social media followers had plummeted, and her once glamorous life was now a distant memory. "Ms. Anderson, these documents," a colleague called out. She had returned to her maiden name. The divorce was finalized, and child support payments had begun. She could only silently comply with the stern emails that occasionally arrived from her ex-husband James. "Yes. I understand." Ashley nodded quietly. Having given up her dream of being a glamorous music teacher, her days were now filled with mundane office work. Critical comments still persisted on social media, and she felt uncomfortable in her new workplace. And in another part of Boston, Peter Morgan had started living alone in a small apartment. Barred from teaching, he now made a living tutoring part-time. His divorce was also finalized, and he was only allowed monthly supervised visits with his 2 children. "Daddy, are you leaving already?" He couldn't answer his young daughter's words. He keenly felt how trust lost through infidelity couldn't be easily regained. Back in Newton, the Christmas party was about to begin at Diana's mansion. Neighborhood families had been invited, creating a warm gathering filled with genuine connection, different from the previous social circuit glamour. Mother. Kate stayed close to Diana. Are you happy? Yes. Diana showed a genuine smile. I'm much happier now. Rather than a seemingly perfect family, one filled with real love. Just then, the doorbell rang. The new principal of Roosevelt Elementary had arrived with their family. The relationship with the school was slowly being repaired too. Merry Christmas! Lucas energetically greeted the guests. Behind him, Robert and Kate stayed close together, while Diana watched over them warmly. Under the Christmas tree, family presents were arranged. No one needed to worry about appearances or keeping up pretenses anymore. They only needed to share happiness as a real family. Outside the window, snow had begun to fall quietly. White crystals of hope danced down upon the Newton streets about to welcome the new year. It was as if they were blessing the beginning of a new family story, bound together by true love. Mom! Lucas shouted. Let's make a snowman. Yes, let's do that. Kate smiled at her husband and mother-in-law. All of us together. And the family stepped out into the winter garden. No one sought perfection anymore. Only their feelings of care for each other would guide this family forward.